Well, welcome everyone to this special off-schedule episode of the My Mickey podcast, brought to you by the Dream Designer Travel Agents at My Mickey Vacation Travel. My name is Jeff Stoner, and I'm one of the co-owners here at My Mickey Vacation Travel. And today I am joined by our good friend Danny Cox with the Dr. Disney website. Hi, Danny. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Of course. If you are watching us on Facebook and you'd like to join in the conversation or have any questions on our topic today, please put them in the chat bar. And if you're watching us on a Facebook group page, please be sure to click on that StreamYard link in the description above so that we know who you are when you comment. So we're having this special episode today because this past Friday night, Disney revised the language on the Know Before You Go page regarding how and when face coverings are to be used when dining at Walt Disney World. And of course, the internet blew up with theories ranging from they're taking away one of our mask relief breaks to we're going to have to raise our masks between bites, neither of which are true. So Danny and his wife Stacy and my wife and usual co-host Karen and myself have been in the parks the last 2 days to intentionally experience how Disney is enforcing this new language and what it really means to guests. So Danny, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you. I'm going to put the language as written on the Know Before You Go page on the screen, and I'm going to have you kind of walk us through this to let us know kind of what this basically says, and then I'm going to basically have you, I know you guys did some quick service
We did.
dining, and maybe give us your experience over at the quick service dining.
Okay. Well, first of all, I mean, you see it up there. It's, they still face coverings for guests age 2 and up. That's nothing new. Must be worn in all public areas. Also nothing new. Removed while actively eating and drinking. Nothing new. But the final line. Face coverings must be worn while standing, waiting, or sitting in dining locations. That's kind of what freaked everyone out because it's a bit of a vague statement and it's something that a lot of people all of a sudden started guessing here and there. As Jeff said, am I supposed to take it up, bring my mask up when I'm eating and in between bites? Am I supposed to take it up in between sips? All that stuff. And so Stacy and I were curious. So we went over to Magic Kingdom and decided to give it a shot and see what we could figure out. So we went over to Cosmic Rays, did our mobile order. We sat down, and after a few minutes, we were like, okay, let's put this to the test. We were at a table, which was nowhere within anyone because the tables are still spaced out. You can't sit at a table next to someone. You're 6 feet away from all other parties. So we were in a good spot there. And we sat down and we were, I didn't go purposely pick up our food right away from inside Cosmic Rays. So we sat there for a few minutes. We had our masks down. Cast members were milling about. They were cleaning up tables and everything. And nobody really said anything. So I was like, okay, and Stacey and I looked at it and she was like, this is new. So, maybe they're still getting used to it too, which they are. Just it's new for them, new for us. So I was like, okay. Went and got our food, sat down, went through the whole eating process and said, I'm going to find this out. So I went inside and I found a team lead and he was very helpful. I presented it to him. I said, this is what I have. And I showed him a screenshot. He goes, okay. He goes, that's the one from the Disney World website. I said, yes. He goes, okay. I said, just explain it to me. I said, like I'm 4. Let me know what's going on with it. I said, because it is very vague wording. I said, you understand that? I said, I understand that. My wife's sitting outside. I said, she understands that. And we have a lot of people just curious of what's going on. So he said, okay. He said, this is in place and it is in place for all locations. He said, it's just come in. Disney has handed it down and it is something that they are doing. He said, right now, he said, it's going to be enforced at all locations. But he said, if it's not enforced just yet, he said, I want you to understand that it's coming. And that was his exact words. It is coming. Like he goes, if it's not being enforced today at Cosmic Rays, it is coming. He goes, you could go across the street or you go to Pecos Bill or something. He goes, and they may be enforcing it, but he said, it's new to us. So we're getting used to it too. So please understand that if you don't experience it today in one spot and you experience it in another, it doesn't mean that's your free game. So He said, just know that it's coming to all these locations and it's going to happen. But my main thing was, I was like, sir, can you just explain to me? I'm like, am I actively eating and then I pull my hand down and I'm taking a break for about 30 seconds in between bites? And he goes, no. He said, if you ask me and you ask anybody here at Disney, he said, actively eating is the process of your drink's in front of you, your food's in front of you, you are eating. He said, if you're taking a bite and you put your food down and you're chewing, and he goes, you don't have to pull up your mask. You're actively eating the whole time. So,
Right.
that was something that so many people have asked myself and Stacy, and it's like, what does that mean, actively eating? And he said, we're not going to be sticklers like that. He said, and we're also not going to chastise someone. He said, just like it is walking through the parks, if a cast member sees you with your mask down and you're not eating or actively drinking, he said, we'll walk up and we'll just go, hey, just pull that up. He goes, simple. He said, but he said, and this was the thing that helped me the most. He said, prime example. He said, say you and I are here today, party of two. I said, yeah. He goes, you have food, I don't. He said, the whole time you're eating, you have your mask down. I have to have mine up. I mean, that was it in a nutshell. He's like, we're not coming down hard on people. We're not letting people, think that everything is shutting down and that you have to wear your mask 23 of 24 hours a day here in the parks. He's like, just if you're not actively, he said, and that is the main word, eating and drinking.
So, like, I think you guys do this because you and I talked about this before we went on air. And I know when Karen and I go and order, first of all, in a quick service restaurant, you can't go into the restaurant until your order is ready.
Correct.
Using, the My Disney Experience app and pre-ordering the mobile order. And so what we will typically do is when the order is ready and we enter into the restaurant, she will usually dart off and find a restaurant or find a table.
Mhm.
I will go get the food. And so while she's doing that, I'm getting food. And so based on the way the policy was prior to this rewrite, she could find a table, sit there and take her mask off because she was seated. Under this new policy, she really can't do that. She has to sit there with her mask on until I arrive with the food. And at that point, we become actively eating. And so I can see that being a situation where this can be interpreted a little bit differently than maybe it had been in the past.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same thing with Stacy and I. Is like, we'll get our little notification, we'll flash it, go in, and we'll go to a table real quick, and then I'll go get the food, and for about 5-10 minutes, she's sitting by herself. So I'll have my mask on because I'm walking through the place, and Stacy will be sitting at the table, and most of the time it's like it's habit, instinct. It's hot, whatever the case. She just pulls her mask down, and so she's sitting there. It's not like anything else. And now, though, that is like you just said. That's the main thing. Is they're going to take it a step further and just say, while you're sitting there at an empty table, no drink in front of you, no food, just leave it up. I mean, it's not a great length of time. The only time it would ever, I guess, be a great length of time is if, hey, we finished lunch, we finished dinner, breakfast, whatever, and now we're sitting at the table just chit-chatting for 30, 40 minutes, an hour. You're going to have your mask up, like anywhere else in the park.
So Karen and I, we went over yesterday and had dinner at my favorite restaurant in the Magic Kingdom, Liberty Tree Tavern. And so we kind of did the same thing. We knew the policy was in place, but we sat and we actually kept our masks on for a little bit, but we noticed we were the only ones who were of the tables that did not have food. So it's pretty obvious at that point that they weren't yet enforcing it, but we kind of did the same thing. I asked for a lead cast member, and basically what was explained to us was this. And this is how this particular restaurant is interpreting it. And I believe, for the most part, all table service restaurants are going to interpret it. Until your drinks arrive, your face covering stays on. Mm-hmm. Once your drinks arrive, you are then actively eating until it's time for you to leave the restaurant. And so, because I even asked the question, I said, do we have to put them on, say, between courses? So in other words, if they take away our plates from our dinner and we're waiting on dessert, do we have to put them back on? The answer was no. He said basically until it's time for you to get up and leave. And it was explained by this lead that listen, we understand and we know the numbers are going down. We understand that COVID cases are going down. We understand that everything is really on the right trend, but they're looking for basically every opportunity they can to do whatever they can to help that
Yeah.
that trend. And that's why they made this change. But for us, and based on what we were told by the lead at this particular restaurant, it's that period of time between you're seated and your drinks arrive. And so we were at the restaurant for a good hour. And from the time, and I actually had my stopwatch going. From the time we were seated until our drinks arrived, it was 5 minutes. And so out of 60 minutes to have 5 of that be with face covering on, it really wasn't that big of an inconvenience for us at all. So again, lots of interpretation. I think this is going to be one of those things that are going to trend and change and maybe modify a little bit as it rolls out, as most things have been. But it's not I think the big negative that the internet has made it out to be.
No, I agree with you, and that's what immediately when on Dr. Disney I put up the screenshot from Disney's website. It was a mixed bag. I mean, we've had the people that were, oh, I fully understand this. It's a couple extra minutes. Same thing you just said. And then we've had the people who were, oh, they're just minutes away from stopping us from eating and drinking completely. And I'm like, that's not what it says at all. I mean, I understand it. Nobody actually wants to wear the mask. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I love it. I love wearing a mask in 90 degree heat in Central Florida. But it's it's something that's required. Even if I don't agree with it, even if someone else does agree with it, whatever the case, I'm fine with it. But it's required. Disney wants it. I mean, if you want to walk into their parks or their resorts, it's something that they are going to have, and we can't change it until they do.
Right.
So, I mean, it's an interesting thing though, because I was reading through some of the comments, and some of them were just off the wall, and I ignored them. But then there was one which I thought was quite intriguing. We know the parks, as according to Chapek, are 35%, Disney
Right.
CEO. Well, Stacey and I have discussed this at times, and how Governor Ron DeSantis, depending on how he wants to up restaurant capacity and what Disney will do, et cetera. And somebody made a comment yesterday on the post that said, I wonder if there is a double meaning to this. And yes, they're trying to do their part. They're trying to help, prevent the spread of COVID further. But think about it. People are used to think about dining as that's my hour and a half to have my mask off the whole time. And while it's not really being taken away, this person said, what if this is a way for them to turn over tables a little bit quicker? Because now you don't necessarily have people that are just going to hang out at a table after dinner for 25, 30 minutes. They're going to be like, well, we picked up your plates and you're getting ready to leave. We'll pick up your plates. You don't have food, actively eating a drink and put your mask on. Well, I have to do it out in the park anyway. Let's just go out in the park.
Yeah.
There's an empty table.
There could be some merit to that.
I'm like, well, it was one of the most intriguing thoughts that came forward. And I was like, okay, it wasn't someone saying, I hate the world, or someone saying Disney, everything Disney does is magical. So it wasn't either end of the spectrum. It was in the middle. And I'm like, interesting thought, at least.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Let me run over here some comments that have been coming in. First, Melanie, thank you, Jeff and Danny, for the updates. Great to hear you're able to test out these new policies for us. You are very welcome, Melanie. Adam had a couple comments here for us. First, Liberty Tree is my favorite too. That means you have good taste, Adam.
It does.
And this change is really just a slight change. I'm okay with it. Yeah, I agree. Don't you, Dan? It's just a slight change.
I mean, it's a small change, and it's aside from the fact that I can't do anything about it because I have no control over anything Disney does. I still want to go to the park, so we're gonna follow it. But it's not anything. And I know everyone's different. It doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it's for my experience yesterday, it was 5 minutes out of 60. Correct. It wasn't like and like I said, it wasn't that situation where, okay, I've eaten my salad, back on the mask. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I've eaten my entree. Back on with the mask. I've eaten
exactly.
my dessert. Back on with the mask. It's not that. And so I think it's very reasonable. And again, what we're talking about here is, what we've noticed, what our observations were, what we've been kind of told by some leads. But when you go back to the actual policy, it really is face coverings must be worn while standing, waiting, or sitting in dining locations. And that's, it's kind of vague, and so there is room for interpretation there. But it is what it is.
And it's funny because you said, this just came out Friday evening, and of course, everything is always subject to change, and it probably will in the wording or how it's enforced once they do trial and error. I mean, that message that is played throughout all four parks every 15 minutes in Disney Springs, where please keep your faith, that thing has gone through at least 4 or 5 different variations.
Mm-hmm.
It was the original message back in July, and then they added, please keep your mask on while taking pictures. And then it was, please keep your mask on unless actively eating and drinking. Then they changed again, actively eating and drinking while stationary.
Right.
So it's going to be a trial and error period where Disney figures out what's working, what we've missed, what we haven't missed, and what we need to add in as time goes on. And they may change it again to the delight of people that hate it now.
Of course.
So it's just give it a chance. And like Adam just said, it's a slight change. It's not
Right.
much different than what we're dealing with. And 5 minutes out of 60 is not something that's going to hurt you. At least I
Right.
don't.
No, I agree. And Katie Midgley, sorry if I butchered your last name there, Katie, but kind of picks up on what you just said. What about when you're at Epcot and you have to stand somewhere because there are no tables, like testing a festival snack?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that goes right back to what you just said. The policy is, stand apart from other people. Like, no, don't stand right in the middle of the pathway where everybody's walking. Separate yourself away. Be stationary. And as long as you're actively eating or drinking, you're fine to do that. You don't have to be at a table.
Yeah, and when you're done, know that if there's a cast member around and you're finished eating, you don't have anything in front of you anymore, or you're done with your plate, they could ask you to pull your mask up because again, not actively. But
Right.
I mean, the festivals, yeah, just walk off to the side. I mean, yesterday we were in Magic Kingdom. I remember I had a drink. I would just at times I was thirsty. I was walking. I'd step off to the side, put the mask down, take a sip, pull the mask back up, keep walking.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, it adds an extra 30 seconds to what you're doing. It's not anything difficult. And I'm not trying to offend anybody that thinks it is. I understand we
Of
all have
course.
different opinions, but
Of course.
we suffer for what we love, I guess.
Yeah. And like I said, our intent here was really to just kind of put a face to the policy as is written and kind of what's really happening in the parks with it. And like I said, it's really just it's not feeling that you have this free get out of face covering jail card, as soon as you sit down. It's you sit down, leave it on, get your drink, take it off, enjoy your meal. And
Yeah.
it's really as simple as that.
Yeah. And we stopped by Crystal Palace, even though we weren't dining there yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
After Cosmic Rays, we stopped there and just said, asked if there was a coordinator free. She came out and she spoke to us, and we asked the same questions. And we got pretty much the exact same thing you did at Liberty Tree. They were just like, once we bring you your drink, you're actively drinking. It's okay.
Yep.
And she even said, we've had so many people come up today and so many guests who had read it last night and in the park this morning and say, I said, I can't imagine what you've gotten. And she gave me examples. She said, we did. We had somebody that said, okay, well, I have my food in front of me. I cut my food. I have my mask on. I take a bite. After pulling my mask down, while I'm chewing, I pull my mask back up, correct? She said he wasn't against it, but he
Right.
thought that's
Just
what
wanted to understand it.
he thought that's what was now required by the way the wording is.
Right.
And I know the wording's vague, so that's why we went to go test it like y'all did, and the coordinators and leads and cast members, they're all being trained on it just as much as we are by learning it. So I beg of you to have patience with them, please.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, thanks, Danny. I appreciate you jumping on here and sharing your experience. I think this was helpful to a lot of people as they've been stating in the chat here. And like I said, I think this is just another one of those things where the internet just went,
yeah,
And I think when it comes down to what's really in practice, it's not that big of a it's not that really that big of a deal and that much of an issue. And I think people can still have an amazingly magical time at Walt Disney World. Danny, how can people reach you?
Everybody can reach me just by going to the Dr. Disney Facebook page. You can check out the I'm So Disney group on Facebook and join there. And just go to www.drdisney.com. We update news, events, everything that's going on. And, we're going to be, Stacy and I, we're going to be at the first day of Flower and Garden Festival at Epcot on Wednesday. So lots of pictures, videos, food, topiaries. It's going to be fun. So we're looking forward to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate you being a good partner with us over at My Mickey Vacation Travel. And as you can see, Disney is constantly changing how COVID safety protocols are handled in the parks. So wouldn't it be great if you had a personal concierge who has up-to-date knowledge of these changes to walk you through the planning of your vacation? That's exactly what the dream designers at My Mickey Vacation Travel do for you. They listen to your hopes, dreams, and desires for your vacation and then plan the most magical vacation possible and wrap it up all around the current COVID safety measures. So enjoy the vacation of a lifetime by contacting your favorite dream designer at mymickeyvacation.com. That is it for us today on this special edition. Thank you again, Danny. And we'll see you all real soon.